guys, Nicu here and welcome to another tutorial on this channel. And today I'm gonna teach you about layout animation, and a great example that we'll try to replicate is from an amazing website with the domain talent.foam.org, and we will work on this layout animation on switching between a grid layout to a list layout. So we will not focus on any other UIs, or we'll also have a sort of parallax to our grid, but mostly we will work on creating the shared layout animation between these two components. And we will use the layout ID. So when a component with the layout is removed from the React and then added elsewhere, it will visually animate from the previous component's bounding box and its latest animated values. So this ID will make so that our components will smoothly animate between two states. So in few words, this image will have the same ID in this grid as it has in the list. This makes the transition between states. Great, so nothing really hard to do, is just creating the layout first and then adding the layout ID to the components, and then from there we'll build some stuff, my own stuff on top on the animated layout components. So let's go through the initial project structure that we have. So we are having here, let me check, big browser, so we will need to wrap each component with the component called coming from Framer Motion Animate Persistence. For this we will have to use the wrap page element from Gatsby, and we will wrap each page or each route with this layout component. Having the home component, and home component is where we will write the most of the code, and then we will need to create some dynamic routes for all of our data in our JSON file. This JSON file is just a list of objects that having the cover image, the title, the slug used for the route, and this data is mostly for the purpose of this tutorial. But for example, you can have an API, or you can have a graph endpoint where you could take all of this data and dynamically create pages. To dynamically create pages, you have to go to open a Gatsby node file and export a create pages method, and you can take the page data from, as I said, from an API. You can read the documents or watch other videos, but we have the JSON data, we iterate through it, and then we create a new page and pass the context and pass the component. So as I'm seeing here from the page, we kind of need to have a state. So when you click this, it kind of the layout or the component that renders are changing. So you see here's a grid container. So if we click, we see another container, scroll container render on the page. So this makes me think that we need to go to our home. And this thinks me that we need a state. So let's say that grid is visible, that grid visible, with use state that is imported from React and initials to true. And we have this map data, and now let's build the DOM elements. Let's make this a fragment first. So we would need here, let's see, a container. Call it a class name content. And inside here we'll render either the list or either the grid, depending on this state. So if it is a grid, we render the without importing. Let's give it a class name of grid container. And if it's not a grid, how can you call it? List elements. Now we have the map data. We have to display the images accordingly to the containers. So we'll need here a new div. Yeah, let's give it a class name grid element, and here we can map data.map, and we will need the element and the index. We will return, see what we can return. We'll return another div, class name element, and inside we'll also need a new div, class name thumbnail wrapper, and here we'll need to render the image. So image link, side we'll need an index, and this one is gonna be an image. And let's see, we will type props. Since we use the TypeScript, we'll have an element data props. The data props is coming from our home component. Where is the home container? Yeah, data type props, data type props, data type. Import, import, and we pass the data type and an index, which is a number. And now we have here props, index, element, class name, grid item, media, source, element, cover. Yeah, and we will need the index for later. And let's go back to our home container. Here, image link, we pass the element, the in. We'll go and modify for our list as well, so we can paste element. We need only this. Yeah, so we have our grid visible. Let's go and check what we have. So we have a bunch of items, and I'm having here the React Dev tool, home. Yeah, so we have the state, and let's check for how. So we have our grid, And if we go to and set it to false, we should see the list element. Yep. So let's now go and style the everything we just wrote, put them in the grid, put them in the list, and then we will start to animate. So I'm going to add to the image link, so style.sss and grid item media, the width of 100%, height of 100%, and an object fit contain. It's imported here, so import style. Now we'll mostly go into our home CSS style and add here some changes. So we have our containers, content. Make it position relative with 100 viewport width, a height. Let's calculate one viewport height times 100. Overflow hidden. We need the full page out content visibility. Auto. Let's add a transition. Transition all 0.5 seconds. Cubic Bezier. This is what I love. Let's go and create the grid element. Let's first move back and see. So we kind of have this not scrollable container. So for the grid actually what we have there in our home. So grid container first and then grid elements. Grid container. So we will make them a flex, align item center, justify content center, and we want it to be actually on top of this container position. So absolute, that's why I made that one to relative, and we will make this one much bigger since we will create eventually this let's go to the grid, since we will create this parallax, and let's just give it that 100 pixels, height 1600 pixels, and let's make it centered. So talk 1vh times 100 minus 1600 pixels divided by 2, and for the left let's have here 100 viewport width minus 2110 pixels divided by 2, and content visibility to auto. Great. So let's inspect. We have our content, which is fixed to our viewport width, height, and then we have this grid container that is a little bit bigger. These values will depend on your screen, and maybe you can find a more dynamic way of doing this. So now for grid elements, we now have to create columns and place all of our images inside. So I'm gonna use CSS grid elements, display grid. Let's make grid template columns, repeat 5 columns by 420 pixels. Yeah, so we now kind of having some layout here. We have the grid. So inside of our grid we have the element, Let's go and style that too. So let's give it a padding of 32 pixels and 46 pixels, a width of 422 pixels and a height of 400 pixels. Yeah, so we'll already have some room here. And for the thumbnail wrapper, we'll have a height 100%, width 100%, and the position relative. Yeah, cool. So we are now having our grid from the trailer that I showed you. And let's go now and style the list as well. So we can come here and set it to false. We now have this list container. And for the list, I'm gonna put them in a row. So with scroll, overflow, auto on wax, and hidden on Y. A height, one viewport times 100, so 100. We'll use grid as well, so display grid and grid template columns. Since we know that we have our data, so I'm having 20 elements here. So for me, it's just easier to repeat 20.1 here. You can make them go auto. So align items center, and let's make padding 0 pixels and 0 viewport mean. Let's refresh. I think we also have to this element. Yeah, let's actually change it to list. Oh, it's okay like this. So we have this, and now what we want to do is to make each image, so each element, almost bigger as the screen, so we can have that overflow. So element width 70 mean, height 70 mean, the margin of 0 pixels and 0.5 viewport width. Yeah, so we already have this nice scroll. These items, image link item, go and back to here. So change till, yeah, and we don't need this one because we having this style here. Yeah, so we have the layout, and now let's open and let's make it grid. Yeah, so by having that state, we are having we can switch through two layouts. So great. Let's close some tabs. And now what I want to do is to add a similar button here on the top right to make this switching between layouts. And for this, we will create in our component a header. And this header will have an index, tsx, TypeScript, and a style.sss. So let's go to index. Is an arrow function. Let's create the props, type props. Yeah, so to toggle view, which is a function that will take a boolean and will return a void. So it's just a simple function, and then we have a boolean as a prop. So props view, toggle view, And let's remove this header. And inside we have a button. Button, yeah. Let's add the class name to header container. And for the button, let's see. So if we on click event, click button on click event, click, we are having a toggle view, negative view. So we set negative of what is coming to the header. And here we'll use another React library called React Feather. So Feather, it's just a React library for these icons. I've installed it in advance, and we will say that if it's view, we call the columns, we set the columns icon, otherwise it's a grid. If we go here, it's not gonna work because we didn't import it. Let's go back to our home component. Let's see the home, and above here and header, and we know that we need to pass the view, which is grid visible, and toggle view, which it's a function. The function that will take the value, and we know that this is a boolean, yeah, and we set grid visibility to value. Well, now let's go back. We have the button here, and we see that it's working. Now let's go and style this button. Let's go in our header style. So header container, display flex, align item center. So we need to plate it absolutely to, and write 1.6 rams, top 1.6 rams, and a Z index of 25. Let's refresh. Nope. Why it's not working? Because we didn't import this style here. Yep. So we having it in the right place, and now let's style the button. The padding 0, background color white, box shadow none, border none. So we just removed all of the default style of the button. Let's say display flex, padding 10 pixels, the border of 1 pixel, solid black. Yep. Now let's add some state to it. So hover, when it's hovered, we have a background color black, and we say that the SVGs inside are white, and for the overall SVGs inside the button, let's move it inside the button here, is that the stroke with 1 pixels. Yep. We can go here and add the transition, background for all 0.5 secs, cubic beziers, and yeah, we have this nice, but just the background color. Yep, we have this nice button, and if we click it, the grid will change. Let's go and let's go and add the actual. Let's work with the layout ID and see what we get it from this. So as I said, we need to provide to the component a layout ID, which is a string, and framer motion will magically handle the animation between these two components. So we'll add the layout ID to each image. That's why I said that we need to pass the index to the image link, and we need to transform this image into a motion image, and we will import the motion from React Motion. So this is now a motion image, and we need to pass layout ID to have container and the index. Let's wait a second. Let's save. Yeah. So as this image link is used in the grid and in the list container, it will have basically all of the components will have the same layout ID. So now, yeah, look at this. We already having beautiful changes, but we needed to have, I think, a much greater transition. This is really fast, and if we go here, we see that it has a smoother transition. Yeah, let me check if this will work. The transition we have here in our utils some default values for framer motion, and let's just pass the default transition. Doesn't want to be default transition, doesn't want to import, so let's import default transition from source fills and transition. Fresh. Yeah, so look, we already having much nicer transition to our components. Yeah. And this now what I want to build next is to create the Mexico. Yeah, so to build this page, when they click on one of them, goes to has this nice loader. We'll create this later, and we will have it has some information about the page, also the button. Yeah, we created dynamic pages and we are rendering to this model. And let's first go and modify a little bit our image link component. We need to tell to the Gatsby router navigate to that specific route when this image is clicked. So when it's clicked, we will navigate to. Yeah. So we will create const navigate to, which is an arrow function, and this will navigate gate, and this navigate is imported from Gatsby to the element.slug navigate to. And if we go back, we click, yep, Japan, Mexico, Beijing, all of these beautiful countries. Now let's go and add some beauty to the model component. We know that the props or the context it's passed through this through the context prop, and we know that this is passed to the model component. So page context is a data type that we are having in our home component. That's page context data type. We're gonna have here few components, that's why we need it to be a fragment. And for our main so our model or main container will have a class name model container, and here we have image wrapper, and we want to animate the image that we're gonna pass here. So we will set it as a motion image, and we will pass the source as page context dot does not exist on type props here, sorry, dot cover. We have the Mexico image displayed, the style port style.SSS, and then let's style them. So we will add model container a margin to %, let's say, and for the image wrapper we'll set it to 100 viewport height with 100 viewport width, display flexes to center it, align center, and the justify content center. So we will center the image inside our container, and let's make the image, let's say 1200 pixels and aspect ratio of 60:9, and object fit over to make it fit inside the for our container. Now let's go and animate this image when we enter this route. For this we will need to create some framer motion variants. So type variants is of an object, and this is a variant type, variant, it's imported variant. And we will define two variants here, so initial and animate. So initially we want the opacity to be 0 and the Y to be 100. So we will animate the image from bottom to top a little bit. Const here, const, that's why it didn't want to import. And for our animate, we'll say that, look, when you animate, we'll set it to opacity 1 and Y to 0. And we pass these variants to the image elements of variant, and we say that for initial, it will take the initial from our variants, and animate side animate. Cool, but we want a slight better transition. So transition is called transition. Oh, it wanted to import now. Brush, yeah, smoother. Now what we're gonna do is to add this button that will go home. So let's call it home button.tsx. Is a React function, and This one will have a link that will be imported from Gatsby, and this link will take another React feather component, React left, and we say that link will go to home. It will replace and will have a class name button, and the class name container will also have a home button. Yeah, let's say. Let's go back and style this a little bit. Where it is, it will be somewhere here. Because it wasn't imported. Oh, forget about these imports. Home button. Oh, yeah, it's here. So if we press, working. Cool. Let's go and style it a little bit. So home button, position absolute, so it won't interfere with our image, and the left 1.6 RAM and the top 1.6 RAM. Oh, and I think we want to have the same styling. Yeah, so let's go and in our home component, let's change this to custom button. Okay. Let's copy this and move it into our home here. And let's go header, another class name custom button. Let's copy this. Let's go to our home button. Let's replace it and remove this one. Yep, have the same styling. So we are having now a nice layout. Let's go and change the style here. So change to true. So our default state will be grid, as it is in our example. And if we click on this button, it switches the layout, and if we click on an image, it goes to the model, and example from here while it's working. If we refresh, we see a small loader, and then it's starting this animation and it switches to layout. So what I'm going to start with is to create a loader component, folder loader, X, style. Let's don't forget to import this style as well. So this loader, yeah. So this loader will be a container that it will have some style, some animations, and inside it will have even we will use this as well for when we transition to a specific page. So we will have a small loader in between, and then we will animate this. We'll have this animation complete. So let's see what props this loader will take. So type props. So we would have some sort of title to display inside, as well as we'll need to use some sort of animation control to to it. So if you don't know what is animation control in Framer Motion, the component animation controls. So this is a way to use declarative animations, actually imperative animations with React with Framer Motion. So we can create a control object, and we can manually trigger when this animation will happen. So we can say when it's starting, maybe we have something happening in between or after this control starting, and then we can trigger another state of this animation. So how I'm seeing here is that we are having the loader, we are waiting for it to stop, and then we will start the grid animation. I think we will also, let's go back to home. So it's the loader. Now it's finished. We start the grid animation. The background is black. Then we set the background to white, and we transition to the list animation, to the list layout. So loader controls, which will be animation controls from Framer Motion. We title loader controls and props. And this, let's remove it. This is gonna be a motion div, and we'll need to pass it the class name so that we will style it to make it full width, and we'll pass the animate controller, loader controller. Inside we'll have a motion h1, and we will pass the title to it. And we need to create the variants for the title. So const variants is a variant type equal to initial, y is 50, opacity is 0, and animate y is 0 and opacity is 1. Let's pass to the h1. So variants is variants. Let's duplicate. So animate. Let's add transitions as a default transition. Yeah, so yep, let's go and pass this style here. I will copy paste it. So we are just positioning it fixed. We set the background color black, we set some style to our text, and we center that text. Now let's go and add it in our home component. So where is our home? And for title, since this is the home component, we'll pass it the cities. And we need to create a loader controller. So we create the loader controller like this, a loader controller controls. Use animation from Framer Motion. Let's go and pass it to loader control, loader controller. Isn't important. Loader controls is equal to loader controls, and I think nothing should happen. So have these And that's it. We need to hide this loader. And how we're gonna do this is we'll do this on a use effect. So when this will mount, it only needed to happen when this will mount. So if we come here and set a set timeout to, for example, we want this loader to happen for 2 seconds, yeah, so 2 seconds, and then we say that loader controls dot start opacity to 0, yeah, and let's see what happens to 0. Yep, so we have here a controllable animation, and let's say that transition default is, yeah, and now we need to animate the columns. Let's see. You see that each of columns have some kind of different Y position. And for these, as we know that we have only 5 columns in our grid, I'm just going to create an array of 5 different starting Y positions. So 600, 800, so 600. So this will be for column 0, column 1, 2, 3, and 5. As well as that, we will need to create a new controller for our grid. Let's just duplicate this and animation. And we need to pass this one to our where it is, to element, yeah, to grid element. But in order to pass it, we needed to transform it into a motion. Let's import motion. So first, I see that we need a key here, element log. Let's pass the animate as animation, and as well, yeah. So now we have a pointer to each column. So when this animation starts, when this animation finishes, we can run some sequences. So sequence is just a function. Let's just declare it here. Function sequence, and we now just declare it. And here we can have the animation controller and do some animation with it. I think animation controller are promises. Yeah, so we have to await them, and then we will move to the next step. So let's see, await animation.set, and here our initial animation is to let's see how we have them here. So our images are bigger and our column have different offsets. So we would set the Y and we'll take the grid utils, and then we'll get the index, and this index will be taken from this callback, and to access it we need to pass a custom property to the motion element with the index of this from this array. So for the 0, so for the first column will be 0 and so on. And this is because it's a sync function, we need to set the sequence as well as a sync function. And we also need to scale it to our column to 1.1. Let's go and see what we have so far, step by step. Let's go and do the next animation and see. So we've waited for this one. Oh, so yeah. So we set it, but we need to start it now. So start. So this is the initial state of the animation. So we set each column to Y, each position Y, and to scale it. So we now have to start it, this animation, to go to 0 and to scale it to, and let's say a transition is a default transition. Let's refresh. Oh, because here we need to divide by modulus to 5. Yeah, so we'll go through, since we know that there are 20 elements, and this is divided by 5, we'll need to use the modulus so that we can take one of these values in this array. So each of the image or each of the container will have its own translation and its own scale. Let's save. Let's refresh. Yep. So you can see that cities, and we kind of have these nice. Here one it's a little bit smoother. Cool. And we need to, after this finishes, we need to await animation start, and we say that the scale is 1. The transition is as a default transition. We have a duration here, so it will wait this one to finish and then this one to finish. Let's refresh. We have the loader, the scale. Yep. And now all is left is to set grid visibility to false. So first is true. We have the grid. We finish this animation, then we set it to false so that it will transition to the list. So let's do a refresh. Cities. Then boom, setting to the grid. Beautiful. Yep, so now we can go back. One more thing I want to add is we have the background black and then it changes to white. So I find it nice to have it here as well. So Framer Motion has this use motion value. So use motion value is are some values that if you assign them to a motion element, then this will change if you animate it. So it's some sort of a state, but it will not render the component. So it's a reactive parameter, yeah. Yeah, so animate the motion but without binding it to a component. Yeah, so we will create a const bg color for background color and use motion value. We will set the initial to white, to black, sorry, and we will assign this background color to our content here. We'll need for this to transform it to a motion div as well. Motion. And div, and we will set it to style, background color, PG color and transition background color 5 seconds, easy. Yeah, now we need to update when we want it. So background, it's here, yeah, background color set white. Refresh, we have the loader, background, changes, boom, fuck. Yep. So cool. We now are having this initial nice animation. Boom, boom. So if we go to original website, we also have this animation, we have the grid. Yeah, we are kind of close to how the feeling of this website is it. So next, what I'm left to do is to add the loader when we transition to the dynamic course route, and then you have the parallax on the grid, and maybe we'll add a custom cursor. So let's see, in our I believe in our model, let's go in our model, we need to import here the loader. Yeah. And we pass the title as page context dot title, and we need to create an animation controller here as well. So control is use animation. Let's pass it to loader control, loader control, and similar in a use effect. What we're gonna do is we'll set timeout to the same 200 millisecond, and then control dot start, opacity 0, and transition default transition. Let's refresh. Boom, boom, boom. We click, we have the loader. Oh, so here we need to delay our animation with 2 seconds because we are showing the loader for 2 seconds. Next, we'll add the parallax effect to our grid. We need to create a few more things in our home component. Yeah, so we need 2 more values here for x and y, and I'll set them to 0. So this one will be used to transform our grid component container. So let's go back to our grid container, grid elements actually, and let's transform into a motion div. So motion div, and let's transition, default transition, and style x is x, y. Always set them, and then we will need to a reference to this grid, so grid reference, and as well on mouse move. So parallax. Yeah. Let's copy this and let's create here a function. And let's create as well a const. Grid ref is a use ref of null to it HTML div and or null. So in our function here, we'll take the event, which is a React mouse event of type HTML div element, and first we'll check if readRef.current, otherwise we'll not do anything. So we need to transform from the center the grid accordingly to our mouse movement. So let's add let's get the current width and height from the grid ref.current get bounding client rect. So we'll get our new offset, so our new position x is event, so the left distance of the mouse minus the width times half, so this is half new offset, so const offset y is event dot page y minus height times 0.5, and the new transform y is offset from x is offset x, because this is a huge one. We want to lower it as much as possible. Offset x times some speed divided by 100 by some delta, and this speed is 10, for example. Yeah, and let's replace, and x dot set is new transform x, and y dot set is new transform y. Let's see what we got so far. So yeah, fresh. Let's go back to the grid. So we're having this. I think, yeah. So we need to transform the grid in the opposite direction of the mouse, and we can do it by changing the speed. Yeah. Yep. So yeah. So we can do a small improvement by using use. Yeah. So this useSpring is a motion value that will add some spring animation to the new state. So we're having this x and y, and we are passing them to the style, but we can modify them and use a spring to it. So x motion is useSpring, again from React X, and a stiffness of 100 and a damping of 90. Let's modify, and this is Y. Let's go to Y, and let's just replace this to X motion and Y motion. Let's go back and see what's the feeling of the parallax movement. Yeah, so I think it's slightly smoother. Yeah, slightly smooth. Yeah, we kind of have this nice parallax to our grid component added. I'm not adding the custom cursor. I will link the video down below in the description, or in the cards on how you can create the custom component, custom cursor. As well, what we are doing here is, let's see. What we are doing here is to wait 200 seconds and then show the grid. But what if after these 200 seconds the images are not loaded? Yeah, so we can have different problems here, and in the code, in the final code where you can buy it on my Gumroad store, I'm waiting until all of the images are preloaded, and if they're preloaded later than 200 milliseconds, then this loader will wait more. So I'm done here a small wrapper. Yeah, so the preload images with some smaller improvements, and with the custom cursor on top on this example, I am selling it the full package on my Gumroad store, and the link will be down below. But the main purpose of this video, of having the animation between two containers made in the simplest and easiest way with framer motion, you just learned right now on how to do it free on this channel. Let's go one more time over what we learned today. So we've learned how to add a loader and how to have a sequenced animation with the help of framer motion, use animation hook. We've slightly accessed the how to create dynamic pages in Gatsby, having this nice initial variant animation and a small parallax to our grid. So yeah guys, I hope you enjoyed it very much as I enjoyed to teach you these beautiful animations. If you have any suggestions, please write them down below. I would love to hear your feedback, and don't forget to subscribe, like, share with your friends this awesome animation, share with the world, and share on Twitter. I talk to you to the next one. Peace.